Hello, welcome to my channel for Evolved Humans. I am Miss Day. As soon as I started this reading, as soon as I sat down to do it, I got it's like the energy came over me sort of like a cocoon of a past perception cluster. Like I feel like this feels like if this reading feels like it applies to you, it's almost like you're in your own sort of inner tower moment where it's like the perceptions from your past are trying to exercise themselves out of you. And the only way out is through. That's funny. I just keep thinking of Alanis Morissette. That's so weird. So in this reading, as soon as I got ready, like that feeling came in, but it almost feels like it's a force for you to sort of work out and get out and release, but you have to acknowledge that it was yours, that you actually are the creator of your perception throughout different periods of time. And I think that this is like you need to let go of that. Like this is something where I think that your past, I think you've been doing this since adolescence. Like this way of barricading yourself in emotionally in a protective way, but it feels like it's the result of lots and 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 lots of sort of betrayals. And I think a lot of deception, betrayal, whatever. It just, because a large part of this too is like one of the biggest messages is trust yourself. Trust yourself. When all of these perceptions are coming up, wow. I feel like the message in this reading is that you think you're a damaged person. You think that being a warrior, this is a perception that needs to go. Because this feels like the message is telling you, trust what you know, trust yourself, trust your judgment, but fight against your urge to barricade off. Because removing that is what all of these perceptions are coming forward for. I feel like this is such a large energy force, and I think it's because whoever this reading is going to, it seems like you never fully released things in the past. Like it feels like you always kind of held on hope in a place, this isn't all of you, but it's like there was hope always sort of left in the way of a full release. Like a hope for the future, a hope for later, or even a belief that since that we're together at some point in the future. Weirdness. So, a couple of different things all of a sudden, but it all ties in because earlier today, all morning, all night last night, I was hearing the song Heart Attack. I think that her name is Demi Lovato. Is that the right word? Is that the right person? Like, am I saying the right name? She sings Confident and Heart Attack. And it's like the thing I keep hearing in my head over and over again is in the song where she says, I'm putting my defenses up because I don't want to fall in love. If I ever did that, I think I'd have a heart attack. And so it's like it's so weird because this entire reading is all about like a barricade around yourself. It's like you're cocooned in your own mind, like you're afraid of all of your past coming up to get you or something. And it's like, I think that the message is you've already, like, those are just perceptions. Perceptions feel like a giant force cloud. That's what consciousness feels like. Like, there are certain energies and entities that, like, when you interact with them, when you know that they're there, like, there are some people after they pass that when they're around, it's like they're in the whole house. It's like they fill the place where everybody knows they're there. And I think that you have that drive to speed through And I feel like that speed has been slowed down and weighed down by all of these past perceptions. And I think, and what I mean by past perceptions are like the literal perspectives you had at different stages of your life. But this feels like that warrior was formed in youth. So I think that you've been blocking to protect yourself. I think you've been locking yourself in for lots of good reasons along the way. So it's like at first I thought that they were pushing that you need to speak. And then part of me thought, well, do you need to speak out your experiences? But I think that it's very blatant. It's kind of both. It's like, I think that you're supposed to speak out your experiences in the opposite way of for someone to empathize. I don't know. It doesn't feel like I'm talking to someone who needs comforted by another person. I feel more so like their message is like, your voice needs more weight. Your voice needs to be as strong in intensity as all of the weight that has been put on you throughout your entire journey. And also, the heart of this is, it's like there's something that I feel like your decision needs to be that you can get through anything. Like, you need to decide, okay, wild. So somebody in the comments asked why the masculine and feminine, why I was saying that had to do with red and blue. So it's funky because this reading just keeps making me want to say that. It's like there's never just one thing needed to heal something or even to experience something new. It's not just you deciding that you're going to experience something new. You have to be able to know that something new exists and that you're going to be able to feel it. Because this is like so emotionally and energetically, I think you're good at barriers, maybe emotionally more so, because I think that you're very much like a screen door to energy. But this feels, I think your human is developed to like just barrier up. I think that you need to see yourself as a strong, healed, evened out individual. And I feel like that is how you stop. I was just thinking today, this is it. It's so crazy how it ties in. There is so much that you can do to fight against thoughts in your mind that are pertaining to other people. And the reason you have to do that is because, like, when you're thinking about other people or like other people's actions, their mindsets, anything that you just feel like or that just drives you completely, rubs you unnaturally, I feel like when you get those thoughts in your head where it's like you've almost got the narrative of elsewhere kind of playing through your mind throughout your day, even if you are doing other things and like focusing your energy on other things, I think that what I feel like I want to portray is that when you have those thoughts, I think that other people say intrusive thoughts, and I don't know what they're referring to. But to me, I do think like this is like the king's chambers. Like whatever's in here needs to be high quality and it needs to have the highest of intentions. And when those words and other people's narratives are working in there, it's almost like their energy is seeping in to your attitude. It's like when they're negative behaviors or outlooks, or even just experiences, like when they're living in your mind as a narrative throughout your own day, then you are not in there at the same time. Like there's a difference between processing and carrying thoughts. I feel like cycling thoughts and repeating thoughts are a thing too, because that's been happening and that's coming into my mind. And I feel like, yeah, you're way more in control than you think. You have this fountain of experiences that I think feels like weight, but it's actually a huge source of knowledge for you. And it's like that should give you the strength to walk upright and with your eyes open and with peace in experiences, instead of thinking and reminding yourself, like your human reminds itself all the time that it's been wounded. And I think as soon as we stop saying that, like once we experience it, you have to accept it before you heal from things. Like you have to accept that you are a victim at many points throughout your existence, and that it's okay to see yourself as like a child, to heal through certain things and as a human. But this feels like what you need to stop doing. I think something keeps pulling your gaze down, and I think it's everything you've been through. It's almost like it's still here, the weight of it, the negative view. And I feel like you've changed yourself. So that negative view has to go. And they're giving you like a slicing strength to do that. So the reason I mentioned the red and blue is because this is all about you being in control while allowing yourself to sort of experience chaos. Because when these past perceptions are kind of coming in, it feels like you're naturally inclined to box in yourself, so nothing else, so that because you don't know what's coming through. But like, those are creations of our own. Like our own perception of things, it's created internally. I don't mean it's voluntary. It's created inside of us. So it feels like this mental prison that you think you're in, you're not. I think it's like an engine sputtering away. It feels like this is a huge solid. You've got to let yourself create a new self-image, create a new future for yourself in your mind. I think this is a common message right now, sort of across the board with everyone, where it's like, whatever it is you want to happen in the future, visualize it. And this is something else. I keep thinking about time, and that makes me think of the red and blue thing too, because really, what I mean by that is like an interaction, if there's a negative, then the positive has to pull it up. So if there's a positive future possible, and there's a negative experience that you're trying to get rid of, then the only literal, that is so convenient, the red and blue, the only literal way to pull the negative up to the positive is through you. And even with that, that's another thing I feel like you need to speak strongly, like standing firm. And not in pride, but in a solid sense of knowing. Like, it's okay for you to know stuff. Oh my gosh. And then the song Confident. Like, there's nothing wrong with being confident in what you've walked through. If nothing else can be certain, you know what you've been through. There's a certain line where certainty is necessary and it's not dangerous. And what you've been through and what's been done to you and how you reacted to it and how you've had to shield yourself, that is reality. That is something you can be certain of. And if you can be certain of all of that, then you can be certain that that's not how you want to continue your future existence. So like you have to create a future in your brain, and then you have to allow it to come through. The way that you do that, I keep feeling like it's a voice thing. And I know that the vibration of that is really strong because we have a living sound to make. But I also think that you need to trust that your voice is in control when you decide it is. If you choose that your voice is going to be in control, just like there's a future, and then there's like a past, so we've got something that we've got to get to. So this has to believe it's possible to make a pathway in the material world to reach it. In that same way, that applies inside of your vehicle. So that means that you are the high frequency in here. That means that you are the decider of the future outcome. So whatever's happening right now has a current projected outcome. And you're not sitting right with that. It's like that's what this moment is. It's not because you just have to heal more. It's a release and endure peace. You need to experience peace and control. And the way to have peace is to be in control of yourself. But in your relationships and also your environment. Sometimes people forget that being tolerant of like when you tolerate things that aren't necessarily uplifting you and making you feel fulfilled the way you want to, then you're deciding that that is an experience that you are willing to continue experiencing. And that's okay if that's where you're at. Because like, especially like with children, there are times where I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to be putting anything out there because I'm doing so much here. But it feels like you need to experience your own authority as a peaceful being, as a peaceful, not wounded individual, as a healed one and a strengthened one. And this is a weird moment. I think this is a strange moment for some people because I just keep thinking about a conversation I had yesterday in a reading. And I'm emailing everyone back today. So if you've emailed me in the last week, I'm going to get back to you today. Just so you know. So the odd thing is I was just doing a reading yesterday and it's like, this feels kind of like it's in the air for everyone to kind of hear. It's a good reminder, even for myself. Every time that everything gets a little more crazy and a little more full out here, and you're like, whoa, it's a lot of energy, there's a lot of living people, that's a lot. Like, where do I fit in? In that moment, it always leads me back to the yoga thing where I even forgot and I hurt myself. In the last week, I hurt myself again. I didn't expect it. I just had completely spaced that I hadn't been doing the same intensity of workouts with myself, and I upped it. I got way more serious about it, but I had just loosened everything again. So it's like I was all supple. And when I'm working one-on-one, like when I'm working with humans doing yoga, I let them know that once we start loosening things, it's to make you supple so you can be re-glued together in a firmer way. And when it happens, when you're a medium, and that's who I seem to talk to, which I do think is everyone, but not everyone wants to be aware of it. So they're not. You can literally cut your awareness off if you want. So when you're a medium, it's the same way, because all of a sudden you can see, or however you experience it, you can sense all of the information all of a sudden. It's always been there, but all of a sudden your own consciousness is super hyper aware of it. So that puts you consciously and your human into sort of a supple state with external stuff. Because you might have a whole lot of signs coming through different people that you're talking to, a whole lot of signs coming in your phone, in your feed, or anywhere that you go, to the store, anything. That's how it always seems to work, where things start to align, and then it's just everything. Once you start noticing it, then everything just aligns. And visually, where you can actually see the signs and stuff. That happens so that because that has to be crazy, so that you, as the authority figure, the high frequency, can say, hey, this is the frequency that is allowed in my space, and all that other stuff I can't look at because I need this perception. And you've been through so much that you're not going to be aloof. Like, you're just not, this is not a reading that is going towards people who are aloof, even when you block. You may be able to stop your own feelings, but I don't think that you are unable. Like, I feel like even as you cocoon and have boxed in, I think that you have still received and learned from people along the way. I just don't think they've received you all the way yet. And this is like telling you, like, it's necessary for you to be received. You know, every dead person that I interact with, which is information, I can't just say it's an actual being, because their intention is sort of what you feel. At all, when it doesn't involve all the sensations, you know what's wanted. And I feel like when you're actually experiencing like past loved ones so frequently, it can actually make you feel more chaotic in here because, oh, this is wild. I had this thing written down. It was, I don't even know where it is now. That's so weird. But it was a thing that I actually wrote down for myself, which said that, like, a lack of accountability feels threatened by authority. So in that moment where everything is shaking up, it's not that they're trying so hard to come to you, like, to help us, or like, everyone needs me, so I have to be worn thin. That is your moment to say, I have boundaries. Because if you don't, then you're just an open channel. You have to establish boundaries in any healthy relationship in your life. So like whenever I feel like, okay, I'm being pushed to do a reading right now, it's not that they're saying, give me your time right now. They're not saying, give me your time. They're saying, you're going to have to release all of that stuff that you've received. And I don't always know. Like, I don't always put the sentence in my head the way that I say to do. Like, I actively do that on a daily basis when I'm doing a reading. But sometimes if I'm not doing a reading in one day, I'll literally forget that I'm still interacting with consciousness all of the time. And then when I do a reading, I'll be like, really? Like, that's how intricately we've been connected? It's crazy. So yeah, don't fear taking authority, and don't fear that authority is coming at you. When you feel like, oh, it's all here, one of the reactions can feel like an insecure, terrified feeling. And also, your low frequency reactions can barrier you just because there's a whole lot of information going on. Okay, so I forget what, there was something I lost. I wonder if that's for a reason. I mean, duh, it has to be for a reason. Okay, actually I remember. Okay, so the King's Chamber thing, I feel like that's where the consciousness, when you're open, when you're supple in your moment, where you need to you need to establish new boundaries with your heightened awareness. It's like you have to decide that, because it is like the King's Chambers. It's like literally your most sacred space. Everyone wants in, but not everyone wants to do good to the rest of the kingdom. And it's like, okay, so if your brain is experiencing all of this information that you don't enjoy, and you've got all these things that you've heard throughout your days, and it's going through your head while you're getting ready for bed or doing things, you've got to make a space where your voice comes in and says, we don't care about that. We can't control that. So we're not going to let it stay in this room. Like, it's got to go. And I feel like these old perceptions that this whole reading started with, it's like gold. I know it doesn't feel that way when you're going through all of the terrible things and the tests and the trials. And I don't believe in tests to see how we're doing. It's a test between us and our future. Like, do we really want to make a future that isn't this present moment? And do we want to experience this present moment? Or do we want to experience the past forever? And I feel like these past perceptions, it's a weight. And the weight is what you have to consciously match. You have to match that heavy weight of all of the past with your current, and you do that with a strength leading into your own future. Like, this is where when successful people say, create a vision board, visualize what it is that you want to be or to experience or to have or leave behind, anything like that. The reason is because that's literally how we manifest our own future. It's not written yet. It's not written yet because we're producing energy and interacting with energy all of the time. We have these reactions because we have the choice of which ones to interact with and what to do with it. We react to it because we have a choice, not because we don't. We can block. We can suck. Some people block and they are awesome. And they are freaked out by talking about all of this stuff, and they still are a high frequency medium and don't even know it. It's really like, it feels so much like this is a new life for you if you take it. But if you don't, then the same thing is going to always leads back to this thing now that I think was I have to look at this instead of continuing to say I think. But Sir Edward Newton's first law of motion, I have that in my brain all of the time, just like with the red and blue thing and the negative to positive thing, where if an object is moving forward, if something's moving forward, it will continue on the same path unless an object intercepts it and alters it, obviously. Which is kind of wild because in space, light can be bent by natural objects. So, if all of that applies in here, then you can bend it. You can create a new future that's higher than you've been. But you have to create it through your own vehicle because it's a choice. Because it isn't just sitting there waiting to be gotten. It's something that is possible during your lifetime here. If you can see it and if you can decide it's possible to attain it. It's really a beautiful thing because convincing yourself that the impossible is possible is pretty much what it is when you become spiritually aware. When you become aware of the fact that there are connections that are invisible, that I just think that's beautiful. So I'm just going to end it at that. I really hope this is helpful. So trust yourself. Release the weight by letting your intensity come forward even stronger. And that means add new things. If that means you don't typically put a sentence in the front of your mind for your day about what you want to feel like at the end of that day, what you want to accomplish, start doing that. Make your relationship with yourself even stronger and make it one with an authority figure now. Not just a survivor, not just a smart survivor, an authority figure because you survived and because of the knowledge you've gained. Let the past be knowledge gained, not weight on your back. Okay. All right, I'll leave it at that. I hope you have a good rest of your day, and I will see you in the next reading.